Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Gracious good morning to you, good people. It's your girl KB. You know what I do, and you know why I do it. It is Friday morning. Praise the Lord. Man, it seems I'm saying that more and more every Friday. I made it through another one. As I mentioned, yesterday was the 3-year anniversary of my mom's passing. My sister completely blanked on it. She had to be reminded by her old college roommate. And I want to say old college roommate. They've been friends for almost 50 years. So the roommate is basically family. I hear her name a lot, and mad respect to her and her family. But yeah, my sister blanked on it, and it's like, I'm kind of glad she did because she's the more emotional member of the family. So I want nothing but peace for my sister. But I want to talk about family for a little bit. We all have family members that we identify with, and family is where we formulated our opinions on a lot of things. At one point in time, believe it or not, my mother, God rest her soul, was a registered Republican. Now, for as long as I can remember, Mom, for the most part, notice I said for the most part, was a Democrat and voted Democrat. But something happened. I guess it was her sense of theology. I also want to say, Mom could code switch and what I like to call switch trip on a regular basis. And I want to say she did that as a means of survival. I couldn't stand watching it, but she did that as a means of survival. And I'm going to tell you about that because some of you don't even know what I just said. So to give you the context, my mother went to nursing school at a time where there weren't many black RNs. Okay? My mother, so I like to refer to it as one of those high-toned negresses. Yes, I did say that. The majority of the family has straight hair, and my mother was copper-toned, and so nobody really knew how to classify her because race was big back then. Okay? So my mother had to fit in with a bunch of non-black people of different nationalities. So, every so often we would get a different voice and tone and timbre of conversation. That's code switching, y'all. She even had a white beautician because no one in the black community knew how to do her hair. Everybody wanted to do a press and curl. And my mother didn't have that type of hair. She let a black beautician do it one time, and she came home looking like I want to say a wet animal because it had so much grease in it. but I digress. You know, my mother was a staunch grammarian. So if I did any kind of slang or anything, because I speak what I like to refer to as slanglish. It's a combination of standard English, whatever that is, and, street English, colloquialisms. And I can get hella gully when need be. So that kind of upset my mother at times. And, in communicating with people, you decide which kind of conversation we're going to have, right? Which upset my mother. I'm saying all this to say that, we have this disclaimer when things hit the fan, and the disclaimer is, I'm not like that. And I'm going to just say, we need to stop telling that lie. You are absolutely like that. Your formative years have shaped who you are. The people who are around you have shaped who you are, deep down in the core of who you are. See, my mother never really settled into who she is. And there was, a lot of trauma and trauma responses to things. So she was never really okay with being authentic. She went from her parents' house to school to starting her own home. She was a sole breadwinner. She was a survivor of domestic violence. So, when you come home from work and you have to put on a show at work, then you have to put on a show at home for fear of being violated, you never really settle into who you are. And I'm the polar opposite. But I want to say I'm the polar opposite because of my mother's blessing. And by that I mean, when Mom was going to school, she took classes in Black literature. She took classes in Black studies. And as a result of me, being an avid reader and reading some of her textbooks, I became somewhat militant and standing flat-footed in who I am. So I'm an out loud and proud member of the alphabet community. And for those of you who don't know what that means, it's the LGBTQI, LBGTQ community. I'm very militant in my position on being a Black person. I'm going to tell you about the system of racism. I'm going to tell you how you benefit from the system of racism. Because as I said the other day, I saw this quote that blew my mind. It said, racism isn't just an event. It's a system. And that is so true of this country. And not only that, the people who have capitalistic gains. So there are still people making money with the institution. They're just not calling it slavery. See, they're a slave to the dollar, and you're a slave to having to check a box for, I want to say, voting, zones. federal money, again, zones, and as much as the system is hollering about DEI and whatnot, there are people who still benefit from the laws that are on the books. America has made money on people of color and rested on the shoulders of people of color, and then denied them due process. So again, as much as you say you are not like your parents, or you're not like them, they not like us, you absolutely are. You know, getting back to my mother being Democrat and then switching to Republican, it's because she was ultra conservative, you know, in this strict religious construct. And, you know, I'm here to set all of that on fire. That part. Think about how you show up and represent. Then think about what's behind that.